Welcome everyone. Today is March the 9th, 2022, and this is the Cluster API project meeting. Cluster API is a sub-project of Kubernetes Cluster Lifecycle, and as such, we adhere to the Kubernetes community standards. So if you'd like to talk, please raise your hand and I will call on you. And in general, treat everyone as you might be expect to be treated. So, be kind. So to begin with, we'll go through the open proposal readouts, and I'll give a chance here if anyone would like to talk about any of these. Please raise your hand and I'll call on you. Sagar, go ahead.
Hey folks, so I just wanted to bring up the IPAM integration proposal, which is number 3 on the list. It's been open for a while. There have been a few comments, and the author has been actively addressing those comments. I would like to know, or I would like to see if reviewers and other maintainers could take a look at this and see if this is something that is in a mergeable state so that we can move forward with it. I personally work with CAPV, and this is something that we do get asked a lot about. This might not be very useful for the public cloud providers, but for running on-prem or basically for creating clusters in on-prem environments, this is like a must-have feature, I would say. So, yeah, just if folks would be kind enough to kind of take a look at the proposal and give their feedback, that'd be good.
All right, excellent. Thank you, Sagar. Added a note there to hopefully poke it a little bit. Would anyone else like to give updates on open proposals? Fabrizio, go ahead.
Yes, so two quick comments. One is about runtime SDK proposal. I see good comment, they are addressed. So it seems to me that we are quickly getting to a state where we can call out a silent deadline. There are some comments, but they are just needs. So I would like to invite people to take another look, and then if possibly next week we will start at the silent to have a deadline for approval.
Okay, thank you very much, Fabrizio.
And then with regard to other proposal, there is a document about supporting add-on, cluster add-on orchestration. I have worked on the motivation part. This is a best effort work for me, but if someone wants to take a look at it, I've just wrote down the motivation. And also, there is another document which is not yet a proposal, but linked in the main doc, which is about status of condition. So there are a set of nice PR from most from Alberto, working on condition. What I'm trying to do is basically I'm trying to make a summary of all the conditions that we have on Cluster API, check if they are consistent, and so I can give a better feedback to Alberto and make sure that we are going in a consistent direction. If someone is interested in this work, which is about observability, please take a look and give feedback. It is not a proposal, it is just a status update.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Fabrizio. That looks like really awesome work that's going on with that cataloging of the conditions. So I guess, yeah, as Fabrizio marked here, help wanted. If anyone wants to take a look at those or has interest, please give a review and leave your comments. Okay, so any other open proposal information? Would anyone else like to add a comment? Okay, I'm not seeing any hands going up. So now we'll take a little chance to welcome new attendees. So usually this community has been very vibrant over the last couple of years, and we've had a lot of people joining us. So we like to give a little chance for new community members to introduce themselves and maybe say a little something. So if you'd like to, please raise your hand and or just unmute and say, hey, introduce yourself to the group.
Hey guys, I don't know if you can listen to me.
Can hear you, John.
Okay, yes, so I'm quite new to open source. I am working with Cluster API in my, where I work in my company. So I kind of got interested on like participating in like discussions and understand the culture behind open source community. So this is kind of really new to me. I'm really don't understand all what's going on, but I'm really hooked by the open source idea overall. Okay, so that's it, I guess.
Welcome aboard, John. That's great to hear. And I think this is a great community. You've got a lot of people here who've been doing open source work for a while. So if you have any questions, just reach out in Slack or raise a hand or whatever. There's lots of people here to help.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
David, you have your hand up.
Hi, everyone. My name's David Bloom. I'm been doing Kubernetes for a while, but new to this particular SIG. I have the pleasure of working professionally with Chris Nova, and we're doing a lot of Cluster API and Cluster API Amazon providing work right now in-house, and this has been a really awesome tool. Really excited using it. We just had our first multi-account stand-up success yesterday, so we're able to provision from one management into a target, and so that was huge for us. Learned a lot along the way, and have maybe some contributions back to guides and documentation, which we'll get up there soon for the things I found. But it's been awesome, super great tool, super great community. So really excited to be here and help out and learn more.
Welcome aboard, David. It's great to hear, and we love it when you butter us up with all those compliments. So yeah, keep it up. Okay, I'm not seeing any more hands raising, so let's move on to the discussion topics. Fabrizio, you're first up with some monthly patch releases.
Yeah. Yesterday we created monthly patch release for 1.1, 1.0, and 0.4. And thank you to all the contributors.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks to everyone. So next up, we haven't had a demo in a few sessions. Stefan, you've got a demo for us. So I will stop hosting, and hopefully someone can make you host.
Can you move it down a little bit? I need a few minutes to prepare. And I
okay, sure. Fabrizio, do you want to talk about the owner's file maintenance?
Yes, sure. So we, as you know, we are always looking for new reviewer and maintainers for help. And we have 2 PR for people stepping up, Kilian and Yuvaraji, who are stepping up for Bootstrap and Cluster Cattle. Please go and provide your feedback. And also I want to give a reminder that we have a contributor ladder. We are welcoming everyone that is willing to help. The code base is divided in areas with separated owner files. They are documented in the link in the contributor ladder, and so it should be reasonable to start contributing in subset of the project instead of taking it all in one shot, which is because it's getting huge. And yeah, always looking for a contributor.
All right, thanks, Fabrizio. And yeah, like I'll just click on the contribution ladder quickly here so people can see it. But this is in our Cluster API book, so very easy to find.
Sorry, one last note. While doing this, I noticed that we don't have owner files for the cluster resource set, so for add-ons and for machine pools. We don't have a separated owner file. Given that there is a lot of things going on this topic, maybe we can consider to add a separated owner file only for this part. So if you are interested, please reach out.
Yeah, sounds good. I'll make a note here too. So that's also cluster resource sets, right? Okay. I guess Fabrizio, you've got the next one, looking for more volunteers.
Okay, so last week, one PR, which is for 514, basically got closed by the book, sorry, by the bot. And this PR was about documenting a set of guidelines for providers to implement multi-tenancy in a consistent way. Given the recent discussion about having provider to implement things consistently, it will be nice if someone can keep up this work and revive it.
Okay, I guess, yeah, there's not really a comment to leave here, but I guess if anyone out there is interested in this, please speak up or say something in the Slack channel, and I'm sure Fabrizio would be happy to help get you there, or anyone else. Okay, now we're on to the demo section. Richard and Claudia, would you like to take it away with a demo of the cluster API provider micro VM?
Yeah, sure.
Who should we make host there, I guess?
If you can make me, Richard, first, and then I can just quickly pass it over to Claudia to do the actual demo.
Okay, let's see here. I don't know, Fabrizio, do you need to do that, or?
You can do it, but I suggest to make them co-host, so
Okay.
you keep the recording going on.
Okay. All right, we need that. Well, this should be where the hold music goes as I try to figure out how to make this happen. Okay, I've made you a co-host, Richard.
Brilliant, thank you. So I will share a screen. So I'm just going to cover the background very, very quickly, and then Claudia's going to do the real demo, which should be the most interesting part. So we've been building a new CAPI provider, cluster API provider, micro VM. As the name suggests, it's about provisioning Kubernetes clusters using lightweight virtualization, and specifically Firecracker. So yeah, so we use Firecracker for the virtualization. Well, we do that because Firecracker is very quick. It's designed with security in mind, and it underpins some services at AWS like Lambda and Fargate that are used at massive scale. So I'm going to whiz through this really, really quickly. So when we talk about CAP MVM is the acronym that we've given it. We talk about two locations, general. So we have management location and edge location. So for us, edge locations start with some sort of bare metal provisioner. We use Tinkerbell, but pick your poison in this respect. We plug some bare metal machines in somewhere, and the bare metal provisioner takes over and provisions those bare metal machines. It basically puts three things onto those bare metal machines: container D, Firecracker, and something called Flintlock. Flintlock is basically an API server, something that we've built, it's open source, that you can call, and it will create micro VMs. So you repeat this on any number of bare metal machines, and they basically sit there doing nothing. So this is where the CAPI side of things comes in. So we have a management cluster, and we say we want to create a micro VM based Kubernetes cluster, and that starts with the cluster definition. So we have micro VM cluster, micro VM machine essentially in there, and we say we want to create a cluster based with 5 nodes in micro VMs. So that's applied to the management cluster. So CAP MVM obviously reconciles that, and it has 2 ways of placing those micro VMs onto the bare metal machines. You can statically say, these are my hosts, iterate through them and place them across those. But we are also working on a scheduler so that can actually interrogate the bare metal provision and say, what bare metal machines do I have? And then likewise, what is the usage of those machines? At the moment, we are only doing the static placement. And this is when, after it knows where to place those micro VMs, the normal CAPI process then starts. Essentially, our CAPI provider will then start making individual calls to Flintlock on the bare metal machines. Flintlock then does some stuff with containerd, and it basically pulls down container images for the kernel and for any volumes that the micro VMs need. It does some stuff to massage those and make them available in a way that is suitable for Firecracker. And then it basically starts instances of Firecracker, which create micro VMs, and those micro VMs then become individual Kubernetes nodes. And this is repeated many times on the same host or on different hosts, and a cluster is formed. I will probably pause there. I have some slides on what is Firecracker, but it's probably better just to go to the demo, I think, which Claudia has.
Yeah, let me just share. All right. Can everyone see my screen?
Yep, see 4 terminal windows there.
Perfect. I've zoomed in a lot, so I hope that it's all visible. All right. So welcome to Liquid Metal. I've done this demo now about 10 times. This is the first time I've done it to people who might actually know what I'm talking about. So this is very exciting. So I've cut a lot of it out, so I hope it all still has some sort of narrative. So the layout here on the right, I have 2 hosts. These are the bare metal hosts that Richard was talking about. These are hosted on Equinix. I think I put them in outside, I can't remember. As you can see, they are running Flintlock, because that is the micro VM service that will call out to Firecracker to create the micro VMs. There's also some notes here about Flintlock and containerd and Firecracker. So if anyone's watching the video later, they can read those. Okay, so let's configure our management cluster. So I am using Kind, which I prepared earlier. I'm just going to set my capMVM version, going to set my cluster cuttle YAML, pointing to cluster provider, cluster API for a micro VM. And then I'm going to configure CAPI. We're going to use Cilium for the child cluster networking. And then we can go ahead and initialize the providers. So that's going to go ahead and do that. On the side here, I'm just going to get ready to, just going to load up a watch just so we can see the micro VMs come up. Obviously, this is just like the state dirs. It's not actually the representation, but it looks quite cool. It's just a nice way of looking to see what's coming up. I suppose I could also do like a PS orcs of Firecracker processes, but it looks a little bit messier and harder to read in black and white. So, yep, still waiting for Cert Manager. It always takes the longest, doesn't it? And there we go. Now it's cracking on. Excellent. So that is our management cluster all set up. And now let's configure some stuff. Let's have the cluster name, nice and imaginative. I'm just going to have one control plane node here, and I'll have 10 worker machines. We're using kubevip to load balance across the host. So that is hard-coded to be an IP that I just happen to know is available in my private VLAN. Oh yeah, there's some interesting networking stuff going on here. If anyone wants to know about that, just ping me. I am in the CAPI Slack. So yeah, let's generate our cluster, our template. There we go. That is that. I do need to edit a bit here. So as Richard said, we are going to have a dynamic scheduler, which will go and talk to something like Tinkerbell and say, hey, what host do I have? We don't have that yet. So I'm just going to go and paste in the IPs that I know I have. There we go. There is host 1, host 0. And, oh, go away. No, I don't want, oh, sorry, I hit an extra key and now an app is asking me if I want something. Go away, thank you. So 35 and now I want 69. Perfect. So that is my template configured. And we can go ahead and apply the thing. Cool, that's doing the stuff. I'm already following my own advice and I'm watching this directory. So that's nice. There we go. Control plane already up and started. So let's go ahead and grab the old secret, decode that and get the config. We can then watch the nodes come up. As you all know, the control plane always takes a minute to come up. So it's going to hold on watching that for a while until the control plane IP is ready to go. And then once that's done, all the workers come up pretty damn fast. Right, things are changing. So just to caveat this, we've had some problems in the last week or so with the scheduling part, where sometimes all the worker nodes come up on one of the hosts rather than sort of balanced across all of them. And I'm really hoping this doesn't have it happen today. I've been quite lucky so far. No, it did work. It worked until literally this week. It worked and it was really good. So we don't know what's happened, but there we go. They're starting to come up. Please come up on multiple hosts. Please come up on multiple hosts. No, you're not going to do it, are you? No, you're going to come up on one just to ruin my day. Ah, fine then. And there we are. Now they're being picked up. And as soon as one is ready, then we're good to go. There we go. Starting to come ready now. And of course, we can have a look at the pods. And yeah, as you know, usable cluster to do stuff. So yeah, that's it. Nice and quick way of getting a Kubernetes cluster up on bare metal.
That was awesome. Does anyone have questions or comments? All right, I'm not seeing any hands, but yeah, that's great, and I echo what Vince is saying in chat. Like, excellent presentation skills, very fun to watch, and I also applaud you for staying away from nautical themed names for your projects. It's rare to see in Kubernetes, so thank you.
Yeah, we're going for a gun theme this time. Firecracker, flintlock. We got lots of gun themes going on.
Yeah, I was detecting the gunpowder element kind of running through everything. Okay, so thank you, Richard and Claudia again. Yassine, you're up next with port management.
Yeah, so it's just a kind of a PSA for folks. So the PR for handling port management for the API server is out. It's still missing the updates to the book, but it should have like the change that is needed. There's probably another PR that is gonna follow up to the book that is gonna discuss how we're doing port management and control plane endpoint management in general when users supply those or want to supply those. So yeah, please take a look. The input's welcome. Thanks.
Thanks, Yassine. And let's see, I'll leave a comment here, but let me go and get the next thing going. Sadef, you're up next with a follow-up on using existing CSI CCM.
Yeah, hi. Just wanted to quickly follow up on our last week's discussion on upgrading clusters to Kubernetes 1.23, where CSI migration flag is enabled. I mentioned last week I was having a trouble in the upgrade process. Thanks to Yassine, he pointed a flag that made things work. So I created a document that lists a couple of upgrade scenarios that worked in Kappa. Just wanted to share this with in case other providers also need it.
Awesome. And I'm just noticing here. Okay, so you do have the specification for like the cloud provider flag and everything there. Is that what these categories are?
Right. If you go a little bit below, I shared the KubeADM configs that worked for each scenario that I tested. So since upgrading, moving to external for both CSI CCM is not required, we can just use external CSI with in3 CCM. I tested a couple of different upgrade scenarios, and those KubeADM configs are specific to each scenario.
Cool. That's awesome work. Yeah, this is going to become very important in the next few releases, I imagine. Okay, and Stefan, are you ready to go with our last demo here?
Yes, this time yes.
Okay, let's see. I will
after you gave me the words.
Hey, Mike, before Stefan starts his demo, I guess Yassine had raised his hand. When Sadef was talking.
Oh, sorry, I missed that. Yeah, thank you, Sigar. Go ahead, Yassine.
Yeah. One quick thing regarding CCM and CSI migration. First thing, like shout out to Sadaf for the great work. Like just in this scenario is definitely not easy. The second thing is that document is outlining a how can I say non-HA migration path for CCM, meaning that at some point like the CCM and the control plane is not going to be able to identify and churn nodes joining or joining the cluster. So this isn't an issue really for cluster API due to the way we do upgrade. So if you refer to the Kubernetes docs on how to do CCM migration, you're going to see a different approach, but that one is mainly targeted for doing full HA work where you don't want like a any small window between the fact of new CCM being up and the cluster being able to join clusters. So that's a different approach. That's like the in my opinion like the most pragmatic approach. This one is more targeted for scenarios where you actually don't need any downtime in the ability to join or unjoin nodes. From the tests that I've done and Sadaf done, like the timing is pretty short, and implementing this approach would require like a very deep rework in terms of cluster API. So I wanted to share that.
Okay, thanks, Yassine. That is great information. I know this is a complicated topic, so yeah, it's good follow up there. Thank you. Okay, no hands raised. Stefan, are you ready to go?
Yes.
Okay, you should be all set.
Yep, you should see my Chrome now or in a bit.
Yep, we're looking at the meeting notes right now.
Yeah, just the same page again. Yep, so I just wanted to do a short demo on our tool we recently wrote and merged. Essentially, we spent some time the last few weeks to improve logging. There will be something upstream soon. Currently more like figuring out how to do it. But the first step that we already did is it's now possible to enable JSON logging in core CAPI at least. We also have something in the migration doc in case providers want to follow. So now building on top of the capability to enable JSON logging, we enabled it for end-to-end tests, and we wrote a small tool. And with that tool, we can take the end-to-end test logs either from a pro shop or locally and push them in a low-key instance so that we can essentially analyze logs via Grafana. You can do this with either some local logs if you execute your end-to-end test locally, or with some random pro shop. And yeah, so essentially what we're trying to do is we try to improve the feedback loop so that when we actually debug end-to-end tests, that we use our own logs to figure out what the issue is, so that we can then incrementally improve our logs so that they're actually useful to debug things. I mean, we already have logs, but I think there is a room for improvement there. Yeah, and what that tool essentially does is it downloads the logs from somewhere and it pushes them into Loki. We have some documentation for it. So if someone wants to take a look here under testing, troubleshooting end-to-end tests, that's essentially the tool. Under hack tools, you can pass in a log path. The log path can be either just directly your pro shop URL. So just that, I'll show you. So just that URL here, you don't have to click anywhere. Or if you want some GCS path, so that's the underlying path of that, essentially of that directory here. So just in case you want to use GCS directly, or you can use the local folder. Mostly makes sense if you run your end-to-end test locally, or if you have some other log sources. So it should also work with, not necessarily only with cluster API logs. Let's say it like that. Yep. So you run the tool, and the tool downloads from here and pushes it to Loki. There's some default URL with a Loki default port, but you can also specify the port of your Loki instance if you want to. If you are running the tilt environment, you have Loki already deployed as soon as you use deploy observability with Grafana and Loki. So then you get Grafana, you get Loki, and you get on port forward. And that tool will automatically push to that port that is already exposed. After that, you can access your logs via Grafana, or Loki also has some kind of CLI where you can just query on logs, essentially. Additionally to just providing that command, we also added a button to tilt. So if you have tilt here, and if you're in the Loki tab, you have a button here, and you can just add your path here. So I already did it before, but essentially you add your approach shop URL here, you click on import logs. And let's just do it again. They're already imported, but I just repeated. So then you see here that it's running the tool, it is downloading the logs, and it is uploading them again. And the result is that when you look at Loki, you can analyze your logs from your end-to-end test. You see that the files are somewhere from GCS, and you can just do the usual stuff, filter on the controller, filter on the machine, cluster, etc. Yeah, that's it. You don't actually have to use tilt. The only thing that it depends on is Loki. So the minimal version is you download it from somewhere, you upload it in Loki, and then you can already query it with log CLI. If you want to actually look at it via Grafana, of course, you also need Grafana. So just a very simple version is just use our tilt environment, but of course you can just run your Loki instance somewhere. Yeah, that's it essentially. Fabrice, so some context cool. I missed as usually.
No, I think this is great. We are just trying to make, let me say, log as a first-class tool in our developer workflow. And so as soon as we get these, they will be improved as business as usual. So thank you, Stefan, for implementing this. Maybe you want to show how you can access the Loki UI from Tilt.
Oh, yeah, sure. By the way, we have some more Tilt, let's say, a Tilt walkthrough available somewhere in our Let's Chat About discussion, just in case someone wants to follow up on that. So we also talked about a little bit here, but I'll do the very, very short version of it. But here are 2 YouTube videos, depending on what region you want, where you can look that up in more detail if you want. But yeah, if you have Loki here, that's just a resource view where you see what is deployed. But you can also click at that view, and here under observability, you have Loki, and you can just click on that button, and that's essentially just a port forward from the, that button. That's just a port forward from Grafana to localhost. Of course, you can access Loki. That's the port we're using to push logs, but I mean, of course, you want to use the UI. So we get here.
Yeah, very nice. This seems like it's going to be really convenient for doing end-to-end testing and debugging those tests. Does anybody have any questions or comments for Stefan?
By the way, it should also work with logs from providers. There might be some edge cases which we didn't handle. It should even work with text logs, but JSON logs are a little bit better. So just in case some provider folks want to test it with their end-to-end test logs.
Okay, very cool. So we have reached the end of the agenda, and no one has added more topics. I'll give a minute here in case anyone has questions or want to raise their hand. And if not, then we'll take back, 20 or so minutes of our day here. Paul, go ahead.
Hi, yeah, just to kind of let everybody know that at Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, we've released our provider. It's on our own GitHub blog at the moment. And if I would like to take a couple of minutes next week to just sort of introduce it to everybody, if that's possible.
Definitely, yeah. And congratulations. That's awesome on releasing.
Yeah, we got some work to do to before we can get it migrated into the SIG, mainly internal pain, but that will be the idea, to get that as soon as possible.
Awesome. And yeah, like if you'd like to demo or do a little presentation on it next week, definitely just put your name on the agenda. And yeah, I think you see how
we'll
you
do.
your demo's going here.
Yeah, I can't promise to match today's demo.
It's not a competition. We just love watching. We just love watching good entertainment here.
Excellent.
All right. Thanks again, Paul. Anyone else? Okay, well, I guess then we'll call this meeting to a conclusion. Thanks, everyone, and hopefully we'll see you next week.